Hello, it's Ted Corless with News Munchies. Today, some history. In 1996, California became the very first state to literally legalize cannabis. Now, how could they do that when cannabis is illegal under federal law? Well, the way they do that is by getting behind the enormous amount of support and direction that was provided by the LGBTQ plus community in California, responding to the scourge and the epidemic of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. We have the opportunity today to speak with someone who has been described as the gay face of cannabis. She is currently working on a project in Miami on behalf of the Young Arts Foundation. It is my pleasure to introduce the incomparable Laganja Estranja. Hello there.
Yes, Gawd, honey. What's the tea?
Hello, hello. It is so nice to finally get to talk to you. You have been very busy.
Yes, I'm a busy bee, queen bee. That's the rundown.
That's right. Now, so our listeners, of course, who already know who you are, but having been on RuPaul's Drag Race, now you can actually say you have been on the Emmy awarding RuPaul's Drag Race. How exciting.
It's so exciting. I mean, it's something that I knew would always happen, but I will be honest, I never thought it would happen this soon. So when I found out that day, I was so thrilled for my entire family because, it's not just RuPaul or the show, but it's also all the crew from World of Wonder that work on the show. Sure. And so, up on stage, I knew so many of those faces. So it was such a beautiful moment for everyone, really. And I am thrilled to be able to say that, yes, I'm from an Emmy-nominated show. But, regardless of whether we had won the award or not, I think the show is incredible on its own. And I'm just so glad that other people have finally caught up. Okay.
I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to expand such a positive mission. And I have to say to you individually that you have this kind of micro ethos about you that is so very positive and I think so constructive for so many other people, growing up in America.
Well, after I got off the show, I went through a very negative period. And the only way I was able to survive that was by finding positivity and by finding, gratefulness for every day, whether it's something beautiful in nature or being able to just say something nice to someone online. I find that a lot of queens, they like to be shady, and that's just not my vibe. I think that a real queen is someone who spreads positivity and light and love.
Well, I want to make sure that anyone who is following you keeps an eye on all of your social media. You have an enormously successful Instagram and Twitter, as well as Facebook. But I have to tell you, the one thing you have going for you that is so amazing is your Pinterest. I was absolutely floored with the amount of content that you have available there. It's amazing.
That's hilarious because I don't even run a Pinterest. So I wonder who's running one for me. That's my stuff because that's not me.
Right. Well, News Munchies, all we'd probably be able to produce photographs are historic figures smoking pot. But I think you've got a little bit more brand strength than that.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised on that one.
Yeah, that's terrific. Now, tell me a little bit about how the relationship exists between the passion that you have in supporting the LGBTQ plus community as well as the issue of the war on drugs.
Absolutely. First off, I want to commend you on your intro. I was so excited. A lot of people don't know about the Compassionate Act and that the fact that the LGBTQ community is the reason we have that in California, also known as Proposition 215. So right. I was very happy to hear you had clocked that information. But the way I got involved in this industry was when I moved to California to go to the California Institute of the Arts to study dance in college. I hurt my back during a piece of mine, and that led me to see a chiropractor. Well, the chiropractor was very abrasive, and I felt he was honestly making the problem worse. And he himself suggested that I try medical marijuana for, dealing with my pain ailments. So I followed his advice. I went and got my license, and I started medicating through marijuana, and it completely changed my life. I was on antidepressants. I had a lot of trouble eating and sleeping, and cannabis really cured pretty much everything. And in a matter of months or so, it was a very quick turnaround. So I knew when I was starting drag that I would want to tie in cannabis some way, somehow, because it had been such a crucial part of my college experience, discovering myself. I mean, ultimately, the only reason I'm in drag is because I got high sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
So for me, it was such a blessing that I felt like it would be a perfect platform as a drag queen. So when I combined those two things together, that was when I really realized how maybe they don't really go together, which seemed so odd to me because, as I said, I knew that my brothers and sisters had fought for our marijuana there in California. So I was very surprised to see, that it's quite homophobic.
Well, right there, it is interesting to me that you're picking two very difficult roads. It's obviously over this last.
Yeah, I didn't really think that through at 18. I didn't really think that through so much. It didn't seem like hard roads because I was going to an art school in college, so everyone was gay or non-binary or transgender, and everyone was smoking marijuana. So in that moment, it didn't seem like such a hard world. That's why it was such a shock to me when I realized, oh wow, both of these two lanes, have been segregated and have been put down in their own right, and now I'm trying to bring the two together.
Right. Well, I mean, it is one of those things where you're just doing all kinds of, you're working so hard for so many other people, you may not have noticed that there's still a lot of people who are homophobic, and there's obviously still an enormous amount of negativity associated with people who consume cannabis.
Absolutely. There is. There's still a lot of stigma around, that I'm pothead and that I just, smoke weed and sit on the couch and do nothing, which, couldn't be further from the truth. So that's absolutely what I try to do is to break that stigma and to educate people, and to really enlighten people on both cannabis and the LGBT stories.
A lot of people don't know that while we are all acting as if marijuana is legal in America, a lot of people act like it is. Unfortunately, it's not. And I've noticed,
Correct.
For News Munchies, we frequently have a problem with shadow banning of our social media on Facebook, for example. We can't promote things that are associated with the consumption of the plant because they simply will not allow it.
Many platforms are like this. In fact, YouTube no longer allows the consumption of cannabis on YouTube. So we are seeing a lot of censorship when it comes to cannabis. And I believe, most importantly, just like you said, it's because it's not federally legal.
Recreational, sure. Because I hear recreational, adult use, those kinds of things.
Right. But by doing that, you see, we're not educating people. We're just creating another big business for people who know nothing about the plant to potentially buy in and start taking advantage of, much like the alcohol or tobacco industry, which is why I'm for, the federal legalization across the board as medical before we even begin to introduce this idea of recreational weed. So that's kind of my opinion on that, because I agree with you. We're in such a gray area now where it is legal statewide in many states now. I believe we're at 39. But it is not but we are not federally legal. So it is still against the law, technically.
Are you still getting people pushing back on your art if it has an element of cannabis in it?
Surprisingly, no. I think I've pretty much made it clear that marijuana queen, and if that's an issue for you, then you probably don't want to hire me. You know what I mean? So I think those people, they just don't even reach out anymore. Right. Quite honestly, I did have a problem with that because it is a part of who I am, and because I do believe that I come from such an educational standpoint, there's no reason for, it to be a problem. I teach, children how to dance all the time, and in the beginning, I definitely was met with flack from parents. But I think the more you begin to know me, the more you see what I'm, doing with my social media. It's not like people sometimes joke that I'm the Snoop Dogg of drag, but I'm not really like Snoop Dogg at all. I'm not just getting high on my channel and doing dumb stuff. Not saying that's what Snoop did, but I'm just saying he's definitely known for the recreational, smoking. And I try to be much more educational.
You're obviously going after a different group of individuals. And the thing about a lot of the people that I would imagine you're connecting with, many of them might be teenagers. And those teenagers have parents And I hope that those parents continue to see the positive elements of your message and not necessarily try and bring it down with issues associated with cannabis.
Yes, me and you both.
Yeah.
I was on the cover of Dope magazine, and
Right.
I was the first LGBTQ person to be on the cover of a magazine.
Gotcha.
However, High Times, if you want a little hot tea for the morning, they only ever feature me on their website, and which is great, and I'm so glad for their support. You know, it's been amazing that they've even acknowledged me that way, but I think it's going to be a long time before you see someone of my nature on the cover of High Times. And maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. In fact, I hope High Times is listening to this right now saying we better call her and put her on our cover, because, you know, it is a shame. I do feel that, you know, that is somewhere I belong, and it would really change a lot of people's minds, because that is such a popular magazine within the cannabis community. But you have to understand there are those who fight for me and believe in me, but they're not necessarily all the ones who are in the top position of power. So, you know, again, this is why it's so important to me to really open up this conversation on homophobia in the cannabis industry, because quite honestly, they're missing out on a lot of money if you want to just look at it at a business standpoint. But also, they're really missing out on the point, which is, to me, the plan is all about one love, equality, spreading it to anyone and everyone who needs it, you know. So by segregating it and making it such a, you know, bro thing, they're really missing out.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I've been to events where I'm in a room full of a lot of older white men with big checkbooks.
Or younger men who, you know, maybe have not come from a place of education and being around people who are gay or transgender or, you know, from the LGBTQ community. So I think that's also part of the issue, you know, is that there isn't really a mixing anymore. It's not 1960s when everybody went out to Hippie Hill and passed the joint around, you know? So it's definitely a different era.
Well, tell me, what are you getting any time for you to do some things that you enjoy?
No, I don't believe in that. I believe in constantly working. I believe in engaging the gifts that I was given. So for me, until I reach a point where, I'm more financially and emotionally stable, to be quite honest, I'm not going to stop working. So no, I don't really give myself breaks. In fact, right now I'm working on a project here in Miami with an organization known as Young Arts.
All right, yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask you. Tell me about you. You're working right now under the hashtag Team Ganja, and you're working with Young Arts in Miami. Tell us about what opportunities lie at the end of this week.
So Young Arts is an organization that's been around for 40 years. It's an arts organization, and it's the only way one can become a presidential scholar in the arts. A presidential scholar in the arts, there's only 20 selected every year, and they're invited to come to the White House and meet the president and to then perform their work at the Kennedy Center. Well, back in 2007, I was one of these winners, and I did get to go to the White House. Unfortunately, the president I met was George Bush, so not so exciting. But regardless, I was in the White House, and I got to perform my work at the Kennedy Center as an 18-year-old. So it really influenced a lot at that point. So when I went to college, I started getting, you know, re-involved with Young Arts as an RA, a resident advisor. So every year, there's a week in Miami where high school students come and compete, and it's from that competition that 60 get selected to apply for Presidential Scholar. So I go back now and I mentor these new high school students that are coming through. Drag is something that I fell into, but dance is really who I am. So I applied and I received the grant. I won. So I'm here in Miami now, and I'm in my third week of my process. I've hired 12 different people, 7 of which are alumni from the program and fellow friends. And we are putting on an immersive dance theater piece that deals with the gradients of gender. And it's all about, you know, exploring in 2018, what does it mean to express gender, and how does that correlate, you know, to our lives and to the happiness of those around us.
Well, I appreciate the energy that you put out. You know, your art is more than just drag. Drag is fantastic, but also just the energy to provide this kind of counsel and positive energy to teenagers or younger people in the community. So that's such a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's an important conversation. And, I find already that actually the youth are much more likely to ask you, what are your pronouns, than some of the, older generations are. So I think what's really cool is hopefully, these younger kids are going to come, but they're also going to bring their parents to this show. So we're really going to reach a wide demographic. And again, this is something that, predominantly as a drag queen, I don't really get to do. It's either adults in a nightclub or it's a brunch that's mixed. But I never really get to just have like a wide variety of an audience. And we're really expecting to see that on September 28th, which is when the final performance is this Friday.
Yes, anybody who's interested, and I certainly encourage you to look at it. It's going to be in Miami. It's different events, rehearsals, and dress rehearsals this week, but the performance is 6 p.m. September 28th in Miami.
It's actually 7 and 8 p.m., and you have to RSVP online, but it is free. And the performance is a loop, so it rotates every 10 minutes. So you just sign up for one of those slots, and then just get ready.
All right. Well, it's fantastic. Laganja, I'm so happy we got an opportunity to talk to you today. If you ever find yourself on this side of Florida, don't be a stranger. Come by and see us. And let's again go back through some of the social media. I would invite everyone to engage Laganja's social media at her website at www.laganjaestranja.com. Also her Twitter, her Instagram. And folks, while you're already on those particular social media pieces, we'd encourage you to take a look at News Munchies as well, at News Munchies in Twitter and Instagram world. So Laganja, travel safe out there, okay?
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a sickening day, Mama.
Thank you so much. All right, be well. Hello, it's Ted Corless with News Munchies. Follow us on our website at www.newsmunchies.com. Also look for us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. News Munchies, dedicated to the legalization, medicalization, and reformation of America's marijuana laws.